Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and today I am joined with my pal over here, Lucas Kaser. All of his Twitter, all of his links, and their draft guide is going to be linked down below in the comments. Make sure to check out their draft guide. It is very good. You want to talk about that real quick before we get into it?
Yeah, it's just a rookie. If you're in dynasty leagues, obviously you have rookie drafts or just rookies in general, just to get a overall view. If you didn't dive into it as much as we did on the rookies for redraft fantasy, and any type of way to look at it, and we have a bunch of data on there. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely suggest you guys check that out. So in this video, we are going to be doing top 12 quarterbacks for Dynasty. We're talking about your startup draft that might be happening in the next couple of weeks if you're doing one. So my first guy and Lucas's first guy, I believe, is the exact same man, Patrick Mahomes, 24.6 years old. Real quick, I'm just going to rattle off his 2019 stats. Quarterback 6, but he only played in 14 games, 484 passing attempts, 18th in the NFL, 4,031 passing yards, 10th, 26 passing touchdowns, 5.4% rate at number 8 in the NFL, 5 INTs, 15 interceptable passes, number 20, and 43 carries, 218 rush yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's not going to rush as much as you think he might just if you just watch the playoffs, because that guy was running all over the place. So why do you have Pat Mahomes at number 1 real quick?
Yeah, I mean, it deals with Lamar Jackson and the touchdown percentage regression, which we'll get into at the next guy. But I think that they were going to get a running back. People knew that was going to happen, and it came down to them getting a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Obviously, that is not – he can run in between the tackles, but he's not like your Jonathan Taylor
Yeah.
or I want to say DeAndre Swift. He's going to be a pass-catching back. And if you look at their actual – like I broke down when they're in the red zone, and they're 21st in pass percentage plays when they're in the red zone, which you wouldn't think for the Chiefs. That's like the bottom, 12 teams in the league in the plays in the red zone. I don't know if that's going to change, but to me, if they go out and get a James White-like player, that they're planning on that changing. He handpicked Allaire, like they even came out and said that afterwards. So I think this team is just going to start throwing the ball a lot more. Obviously, he got injured last year. I think it's just a safe bet. And I mean, he's my 101. I know you have McCaffrey, I think, is your 101 in like overall redraft, but I have him as my 101 just because I think that ceiling is going to be there year in and year out.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mahomes, to me, he's going to be great for the next bunch of years. And also something you don't have to worry about with Mahomes is I know Lamar Jackson, he is not yet to get hurt. And people will tell you, oh, he has like brittle legs or some shit and he's going to end up getting hurt. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen. These guys that run the ball a zillion times, it could happen. And to me, Pat Mahomes doesn't seem like that kind of a guy. And his injury was not something that seems like it's going to be reoccurring year in and year out like he's Dalvin Cook or something. So at number 2, we both have Lamar Jackson, unless you have anything to talk about Mahomes.
No, nope, that's it.
Okay, so number 2, we both have Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar is 23.3 years old, so he's only about a year younger than Pat Mahomes. Quarterback number 1 last season, as you all know, 15 games, 401 passing attempts. He had 3,127 passing yards, 22nd in the NFL, but he had 36 passing touchdowns, making him the number 1 quarterback at a 9.0 rate, almost a 5% more rate over Pat Mahomes. 6 INTs, 14 interceptable passes, 175 carries, 1,213 rush yards, which is number 1, obviously, at the quarterback position, and 7 rushing touchdowns, which is second at the quarterback position. Now, why do you like Lamar at 2 here over some of these other guys?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the touchdown rate at 9%. Historically, just in the past, however long people have been looking at it, when a quarterback eclipses like 6.57%, it always regresses that next year about 2%. So we can chalk him in at around 7%, which is still elite.
Amazing.
Like that's still going to get him top 3 guaranteed with his rushing floor. I don't know if it's going to go down 2% because they've only made additions that are signaling that they're going to stay the course with their offense. They added Devin Duvernay, just a speedster, to pair with Marquise Brown. J.K. Dobbins is very efficient in RPOs, which means run pass option, which they run the most in the league. I just think it's going to stay consistent. I mean, there is the injury concern. You do have to take that into account to an extent. Like, you can't be like, oh, he's never going to get hurt, because he easily could. Like RG3 we saw. I mean, name any rushing quarterback, they're going to get hurt eventually just because they get taken a lot of hits. They were 31st in pass percentage in the red zone, which is a good thing, I think, for Lamar Jackson, because that means he's running the ball. Like I said, they added Devin Duvernay and they lost Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
Kind of signaling to me that they're going to keep track, like I said, of what they're going to do. They're not trying to start throwing the ball more. I think that, however, I think we'll go into the next guys. I think the next guys, based off the additions these offseason, they're closing that gap. I think there was a tier 1 and a tier 2. I think there's kind of a Mahomes and then like a tier 1B kind of in a way. So it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because you're not getting the values of Dak and Kyler. We'll just say it next later in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Lamar Jackson, they did add in some wide receivers, but Lamar Jackson really only throws the ball to Mark Andrews when they're anywhere near the end zone. He just feeds it to that guy. So I do like that. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is going to be a guy. He had 7 rush touchdowns next year. Would you be surprised if he had 10 or 11? Because I wouldn't be at all.
No, I mean, he easily could. And if there's a whole, like, when they switch over to Dobbins, maybe that doesn't hit right away. Like, there's definitely room for that to grow. And I think, I don't know, Mark Andrews, I've played on like 50% of the snaps too. So, like, if that's going to grow, his touchdown rate will obviously get lower. So, yeah, I think that he could easily impress us again with how much rushing he did last year compared to this next upcoming year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, number 3, me and Lucas, we have the same top 4 guys, I believe. So at number 3, we both have Kyler Murray, quarterback out of Arizona. Obviously, he is 22.7 years old, quite the young man over there. In 2019, he was quarterback number 8 in his rookie season. He played in 16 games, 542 passing attempts, which is 9th in the NFL. Obviously, Cliff Kingsbury likes to run that very pass-heavy offense. 3,722 passing yards, 15th in the NFL, 20 passing touchdowns at a 3.7% rate. That's notable. 12 INTs, 18 interceptable passes, 15th in the NFL, 93 carries, 544 rush yards, 2nd in the NFL behind Lamar, and 4 rushing touchdowns, which is 4th in the NFL at the quarterback position. So what do you think about Kyler Murray, and especially the fact that he only threw touchdowns on a 3.7% rate?
Yeah, it came down to him or Dak. I kind of had him both at 3. I didn't really know what to separate him with. Like you said, that he only threw, I think, 20 touchdowns or something like you said.
Yeah, 20.
Only 3,700 yards, and he was still QB7 in his rookie year while taking 19 sacks of the top 40 quarterbacks above the average. So that's a lot. I mean, he was, I think, 3rd or 4th in total sacks taken. They added Josh Jones in the draft. They are more confident with their O-line going forward. They have said that's why they passed on offensive line in the first round. They added the defense.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that it came down to, I was trying to find out, there was the whole narrative beginning of the year that they couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
And I sort of looked at that as why was that? So I went in on the other side of the field, the opponent side of the field. They were 23rd in the NFL out of 32 in pass rate, which would be like you're running an air raid offense. You wouldn't think that'd be the case. Obviously, they got DeAndre Hopkins. I think that is signaling that they're going to try and fix that gap with not that they're going to maybe pass the ball more, but it's going to be that's what they're missing in terms of the efficiency in the red zone. I mean, let's face it, David Johnson and Larry Fitz wasn't it last year getting in the end zone. So I think, to me, he just has the higher path to upside if him and DeAndre can kind of figure that out. But I'm not really bashing on Dak either because I think he's still just as viable for the 3.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think with Kyler, another thing that's going to go up is his rushes. Obviously, he rushed 93 times, which is 5th or 3rd in the NFL for the quarterback position, so it's pretty high. But at the beginning of the year, he seemed to kind of be scared because, he's a short guy. He's like, oh, shit, maybe I'm going to get rocked. I'm going to die or something. And then he said, you know what, fuck it. We're not doing too hot. Let me just run the ball. And then he started to run the ball a lot, and I think that may go up. He had 93 carries last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he was up there at around 120 carries. I mean, Lamar ran 175 times, so that's much higher. But still, I think that Kyler Murray is a very, very good quarterback. And obviously for fantasy football, anyone that can rush the ball at the quarterback position gets you the upper echelon. So at number 4, we both have Dakota Prescott. Dickie Dak Prescott, 26.7 years old. Will Jerry Jones pay him? Who really knows? But in 2019, he was quarterback number 2. He had a fantastic year, 16 games, 596 pass attempts, 6th in the NFL, 4,401 passing yards, 2nd in the NFL, 30 passing tutties at a 5.0% rate, 4th in the NFL, 11 interceptions, 52 carries which is 11th, 277 rush yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Number 9 in the NFL. Something funny to note is I'm pretty sure he scored 3 rushing touchdowns all 4 years he's been in the league, which is you just chalk him in for 3 every single year, and he just goes ahead and does that for you. So why do you have Dak at 4 over some other notable quarterbacks, maybe a guy like Deshaun or Wilson?
Yeah, it would make sense since they added CeeDee Lamb just to put him at the 3, maybe even the 2, honestly, if you don't like Lamar's sort of regression and touchdown percentage. But I think there's 1,005 vacated receiving yards from the wide receiver in Randall Cobb and Tavon Austin. Mm-hmm. So, yes, there is vacated production for CeeDee, but so CeeDee Lamb hits 1,000 yards, and that means Dak stays exactly the same. It's not like Dak improved. If CeeDee eclipses 1,000 yards, when that was with Michael Gallup with 13 games, and Amari Cooper got hurt twice in 2 at the beginning of the game. So, the opportunity is there for this team to take it to the next level. But, if CeeDee Lamb has a really good year, hits 1,000 yards, nothing changes for that offense. So I think that, yes, he's still going to be a top 5 quarterback. but it's not like he's hitting the Mahomes and Lamar tier to an
Yeah.
extent because he runs the ball kind of, but it's not like he runs the ball like Deshaun Watson does. Like everyone's like he's a safe rushing floor, and you kind of see it in games. But I think it's just more you have to. I don't know. I'm buying into more of Kyler becoming the next Lamar with the rushing versus Dak. With that, and they also have Zeke, who yes, they're going to throw the ball with McCarthy. I think it was 62% the last 3 years of him at Green
Yeah.
Bay of them passing, but that was without a running back that has a $10 million paycheck attached to his name. So they're still going to feed Zeke. So I think it's more of just a stock neutral. I think it just assured that he's going to stay right where he is at QB 2 or 3, like he finished last year. Obviously, Mahomes got hurt. So I think he's just like that QB 4 range with the upside, obviously, like we saw last year.
Yeah, he's definitely very safe. Now, my only worry is that Jerry Jones just decides not to pay him. While I think eventually he will get paid sometime this year. I mean, if I'm Dak, I'm very, very mad about the fact that I have not gotten paid, and they paid Zeke just so he could run away from Cabo to go run for that offense. So,
Yeah.
do you think they're going to end up paying him this year?
I don't know because I go back and forth because I think that if they really wanted to pay him, it would have happened by now. Like I get like they can't like meet and stuff, but I like you can they sign free agents another way. Like why can't they do it that way? So I feel like there's something there that like we're not in form of that
Uh-huh.
they can't get the contract done, I guess. I don't know. So it's tough because I think that they're sort of bought into him, but they haven't really showed it with no contract.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So at number 5, I personally have Mr. Russell Wilson. You have him at 6. So for me, Russell Wilson, last year he finished quarterback number 3, 16 games, 516 pass attempts, 12th in the NFL, 4,111 passing yards, 6th in the NFL, 31 passing touchdowns at a 6.0% rate, 3rd in the NFL, 5 INTs, 9 interceptable passes, 35th in the NFL, 75 carries, 5th in the NFL, 342 rushes, and 3 rushing touchdowns, 9th in the NFL. So while he's a guy that you might think, oh, this guy's going to rush maybe 500 yards, he just never does. He's getting older. Obviously, right now he is 31.4. He probably has another, we said this before the call, but he has like 6 more years probably left, 7, 8 more years potentially. So he's going to be a guy that's going to be solid for the next 6, 7 years. And I think that Russell Wilson is just a very, very safe pick. He's a guy we're not worried about. There's no way anyone's going to sniff up his ass and come steal his job like Aaron Rodgers with Jordan Love getting drafted there for some reason. But I just love Russell Wilson. I think that the Seattle Seahawks, nothing's really going to change there. Pete Carroll's still going to draft terribly in the first round for the next 8 years with Russell Wilson. So he'll be good for the next couple of years. So why do you have Russell Wilson at 6 instead of 5?
Yeah, it comes down to you just said it safe. That's really like I love taking him in Superflex or even non-Superflex dynasty drafts because it's just super safe. His TD rate 6% last year, so you'd think like oh that might regress a little bit, but then I actually looked at like his TD rates his whole career. They've been right around 6%,
Yeah.
8%. Like they don't move, but that's just how it is. Like this team doesn't let him be Patrick Mahomes, be Dak Prescott, be Deshaun Watson. They just stick to what they do and it works. I mean, they're a good football team. It's never going to change. They would have changed it by now if it was going to happen. So
Yeah.
he kind of just sits himself right around the QB 6, 7 because he still throws for the 30 touchdowns with like 3 or 4, not like no interceptions always, and they're right around the 4,000 yards. He just never does anything more than that. Whereas Josh Allen, the next guy, he had 3,000 passing yards, QB 6 last year. Like the same argument for Kyler with only 3,700.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has that rushing, like he really has that rushing floor. They added Zach Moss in the draft, which he's just going to take Frank Gore's role. It's not a running back that's going to come in and command the rushing distribution from Josh Allen. And they just added Stephon Diggs without losing any other receivers. So they're obviously
Yeah.
committed to working with this passing attack a little bit more. So I think that, yet again, it's me just buying into more of the upside. And a little bit of the age, not too much. I could
Uh-huh.
easily see Josh Allen not being a quarterback in a few years if he doesn't take it to the next level. But yeah, I mean, if you go Russell Wilson, you have to go a little bit more upside on your second guy. But if you go Josh Allen, you can go safe with a veteran just due to the rushing capability.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to note that Russell Wilson is on a run-heavy offense, but it doesn't seem to matter for the guy's stats because even if they ran the ball 60% of the time, the guy's still probably going to throw 30 touchdowns. He's still only going to throw a couple of interceptions, so he's still going to be a great guy, and he has those legs as well. Like I said, he will get you a solid 300 rush yards probably every single year. So at number 6, I have Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans quarterback. Now, between him and Josh Allen, I know you have Josh Allen above him, and you have Deshaun Watson at 7, but the only reason why I have him here is I just think he is just a very, very talented guy. Whereas I could see Josh Allen, like you said, just if he just doesn't do too hot, like maybe they'll just go with Jake Fromm 3 years from now or something like that. So Deshaun Watson obviously loses his biggest wide receiver weapon this year because Bill O'Brien is a certified dumbass. In 2019, quarterback 4, 15 games, 495 pass attempts, 16th in the NFL, 3,852 passing yards, 13th in the NFL, 20 passing touchdowns at a 5.3% rate, 8th in the NFL, 12 INTs, 82 carries, 413 rush yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. So I kind of expect those rushing touchdowns to maybe go down because now what are they scared of? Who are you scared of on Houston? David Johnson? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
Randall Cobb, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Will Fuller for 3 games. I mean, I have Deshaun Watson at 6, just slightly above Josh Allen. But to me, there is a coin flip. Like, if I was sitting in the draft, I would flip a coin and decide who to pick because they're just that close to me. So what do you think about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I mean, the vacated production, it's 150 targets, 1,100 yards. The thing I think people are going to like, kind of what we're doing right now, we're dropping in our rankings. I think he's going to be lower than Josh Allen in come drafts. To be honest, I could easily see someone taking Joe Burrow over him. I think that he's going to slip. The way I look at it is obviously it's not a good way of building your team the way they're doing it right now. But if you can combine the 5 to 6 weapons they have, I feel like they can put together DeAndre Hopkins' production. Obviously not talented, obviously not as elite, but it's not like not like Deshaun Watson's like losing an arm or something. Like he's still gonna be able to throw at 2 receivers. They're still gonna be scoring. The team is still like above average. We see this every year. Their defense always sucks. Their O-line always sucks, but they always make the playoffs. They're always competing. So I think just that like competitive nature in Deshaun Watson will figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
who's to say Brandon Cooks doesn't stay healthy and gets right back on track with 1,000 yards too? So I think he's a really good, not necessarily buy because he's still super young and people aren't like getting rid of him, but I think just like value pick where you can attack running back receiver and get him instead of trying to reach on a Dak Prescott whose ADP is going to shoot through the roof in this next month.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for me, Deshaun is obviously a guy that's going to run the ball, which is great for you. But like you said, I mean, obviously with DeAndre Hopkins missing, I feel like he misses a guy. While they're still to get all the yards, all the vacated yards will come back somehow through all 7 million guys they decide to add. But he doesn't have that safety blanket. You throw it anywhere near DeAndre Hopkins, and that guy just reaches up and just grabs it or just mosses a defender or something. So obviously he's losing that. But at the end of the day, he should still be fine. But he went from a guy who to me might have been quarterback 3, moves all the way down 3 spots to 6 for me, and he moves to 7 for you. So clearly that takes a big hit for him to move down that far. So at 7, we have a guy we already kind of spoke on a bit. Josh Allen, 23.9 years old for the Buffalo Bills, quarterback 7 last season. He played in 16 games, but he got absolutely rocked in the Patriots game. He got destroyed. 461 passing attempts, 21st in the NFL, 3,000 passing yards, 23rd in the NFL, 20 passing touchdowns at a 4.3% rate, 21 in the NFL, 9 INTs, not too hot for him, 109 carries, 510 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, first in the NFL. So where he gets his bread and butter is just being scared and just running the fuck out of the ball, just running away from everything. But now, obviously, they add Stephon Diggs, who is going to, like you said, make them even better. John Brown, while he is not the best wide receiver, he proved last season to be very reliable for Josh Allen. So I think Allen will just be, yet again, we finished at quarterback 7 last year, quarterback 7 in my rankings. And as long as he doesn't get hurt or make too many false decisions, just heaving the ball down the field and ends up looking like Jameis going 20 for 20 or something, I think he'll be pretty fine for the next bunch of years. So I like Josh Allen at 7. You already talked about him, but do you have anything else to say about him?
No, I think it'll be interesting to see if he could, like I said, take that next leap because this team is now, I think, the alpha in that division. So that takes more than just being a good team. Like he's gonna have to actually like be the quarterback of the team, be the leader. So I think it'll be fun to watch. And we mentioned the whole short string. Like I could easily see them like just not bringing him back if it doesn't work out. So it'll be don't take that into consideration when drafting. No, he's still going to be a lead for the next 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously, he kind of choked away that game against Houston, though. I don't know what he was doing. He was just running around trying to be great. But it is what it is. I mean, that defense is still very strong. And like you said, they're probably the best team in the division, even though the Patriots are still going to end up winning it. My Dolphins are probably going to come in last, but that's okay. So Josh Allen, overall, he's my 7 guy. He is your 5 guy, and obviously the difference between 5 and 7 is not really that far compared to looking at like a guy like Mahomes and Lamar to going down to 7s, at least for me. So my number 8 guy is rookie quarterback who just got drafted a couple of days ago, Joseph Burrow. 2019, he played obviously for the LSU Tigers, 15 games, national championship, 527 pass attempts, 5,671 passing yards, 76.30 completion percentage, 60 passing touchdowns to 6 INTs, 368 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. Now, I'm sure when he gets to the big leagues, he's still going to probably run because he's going to be scared shitless because that Cincinnati O-line, while is going to get better, they're just going to end up dying because they're just a cursed franchise. The Bengals, the Browns, there's just a couple Redskins, a couple teams that are cursed to me, so I worry about that. But Joe Burrow he's just a god. I mean, you don't put up one of the best college seasons ever and then go to the NFL and just completely suck in a situation where there's guys around you that make it easier. I mean, they drafted T. Higgins. They called Joe Burrow up. They said, just like with Pat Mahomes, who do you want? I want fucking titty boy Higgins on my team. So they drafted him. And then he has A.J. Green, if A.J. Green somehow is able to stay healthy, and then Tyler Boyd. So I think that Joe Burrow's in a good spot. I am just worried about how good of a coach Zach Taylor is because Zach Taylor had a much better team than the Dolphins and somehow still managed to lose and not become the worst team, or still became the worst team in the NFL. So what do you think about Joseph Burrow? I have him at 8. You have him at 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, like, I'm not saying he's bad. He's a good quarterback. There is weapons there. I just think that there's going to be a little bit of growth with it. Zach Taylor, like, yeah, he came from Sean McVay, cool, but like he literally showed. Obviously, the team is bad. He didn't show anything last year. Like, Andy Dalton is capable enough to run what Jared Goff ran for the Rams, and they have Joe Mixon. Obviously, their O-line wasn't that great, but like it still wasn't enough for me to be like fully bought in. I mean, the guys I have ahead of him are Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz. I think that Matt Ryan, if that team stays healthy, his ceiling is so much higher, even for Joe Burrow in the next like 2 years. And then Wentz is just kind of safe, and they kind of solidified the weapons this year. But I think, I don't know, it's just tough because their O-line, even with Jonah Williams, I guess the guy's the left tackle's name, is still not that great. So I think it's more of a long-term game. But I mean, T. Higgins, John Ross, Auden Tate, and Tyler Boyd with Joe Mixon is really fun, very efficient in that way that the offense we think is going to be run, but we'll see. But I'm not hating on him or anything. I know for a fact that I will not be getting him at QB 10 in drafts. One, because rookie drafts, and if it's a full-on startup, I know someone's going to reach in round 2 on him.
Yeah, and something else to note is obviously with this coronavirus stuff, what happens if they don't get to practice until, say, August, when normally they're practicing like in May or June. So that's something to note also. I mean, they sent him his playbook, I believe, like months ago because they don't give a shit. They knew who they were going to draft Joe Burrow. So I think Joe Burrow is going to be great. But like you said, he's definitely going to get overdrafted. Someone's going to draft him ahead of a guy like Deshaun Watson just because, he's Joe Burrow. He has all this upside. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow's probably not going to be – I don't think this year he has the potential to be top 12 at all. Probably more of like a low or middle quarterback too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had like redraft rankings, I'd probably put him at like 13 or 14. I think there's going to be kind of a tier of him, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Baker. I'm trying to think of names like Stafford, guys like that. I think that'll be hard to kind of rearrange the way to go. The way I look at it in redraft is you don't have time to waste on like a player developing or anything. So like you have to. Not that I avoid rookie quarterbacks in redraft, but I think it's, especially now with what's going on, I think I'm just going to be all off because, I mean, he's not going to be drafted at the QB 13 or 14, especially in Superflex. Like I said, someone in redraft is going to go Mahomes and him in like round 1 or 2 or something and think they're set.
Yeah, because people are crazy. And, I mean, if you see a guy that absolutely just eviscerates the college football landscape, I mean, people are going to love him. So at number 9, I have my least favorite player in the NFL, a guy that I hate, but he has to be inside the top 10 strictly because if he magically stays healthy, like he did last year until the game started to matter, and then, my pussy hurts, I'm out. So Carson Wentz, your number 9 guy, my number 9 guy, quarterback number 10 last season, 16 games, 607 passing attempts, 5th in the NFL, 4,039 passing yards, 9th in the NFL, 7 INTs, 25 interceptable passes, 11th in the NFL, 62 carries, 243 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Now, the biggest thing to note is he did this quarterback 10 with maybe the worst wide receiver core I've ever seen in my life. They had guys that were playing in the fucking AAF, if you remember that. There was no one on that team. I mean,
Yeah,
Alshon
great. Yeah.
Jeffrey hates Carson Wentz, I'm pretty sure. That guy said he wants out of there. I mean, Big Dick Nick Foles is a better quarterback than him. That's what I think. But at the end of the day, they obviously drafted some guys. They brought in Rieger there. They brought in Jalen Hurts to sniff up his ass in case he ends up getting hurt. So what do you think about Carson Wentz? Why do you have him ranked at number 9?
Yeah, I think we had this conversation last time how we both will never take him in a single fantasy league for some reason. Like, I don't know what the reason is. I'm just never going to draft him. I'll wait
Yeah, I agree.
10 rounds if I have to and take someone else. It's just like he's not a good fan. I mean, okay, he's a good fan. It's like a discounted Russell Wilson. Like, I don't have Russell Wilson in many redraft leagues ever because he's not that consistent. Because obviously, redraft, you're playing week by week. In Dynasty, you're playing like to make the playoffs and then go from there. So I think it's a little bit different with that. I mean, the way they're building this offense is all speed. They came out and said that. They added Rager, John Hightower, Quez Watkins. They traded for Marquise Goodwin. So, I mean, if it works, it works. But I think there's still, like, pause with it. I mean, he's 27. Like, he's a good dynasty long-term quarterback. I think he's a better QB2 or like a QB1B on a safe floor. And then maybe you pair, I don't know, just say any Drew Lock maybe this year if you can get both of them just to play at the upside. But I think that it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know why I don't like him. The team is just a good football team, but they're not really a good fantasy team ever. They never utilize their workhorse when they have a guy like Miles Sanders. They always front load all their contracts, which is unrelated. But I think it's just they're not a good organization. And we see that every single year I mean, last year, Carson Wentz, for example, got hurt. Okay, you can't project that, but like literally every single year he lets people down every single year. So like don't draft him unless you're like getting him for super cheap.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Carson Wentz, I don't think he'll ever legitimately land on any of my teams. I will never draft him because there's always someone who believes in Carson Wentz because, he finished as quarterback 10. Oh, they're bringing all these good wide receivers. Well, I believe that. I just don't trust the guy at all. So that's why I got him at number 9. So at number 10 for me is Baker Mayfield, Tyler's favorite player in the NFL. Baker Mayfield in 2019, quarterback number 19, 16 games, 534 pass attempts, 3,827 passing yards, 22 passing touchdowns, 4.1% rate, 16th in the NFL, 21 INTs, so he's looking like Jameis, 22, 21, 29 interceptable passes, 5th in the NFL, 28 carries, 141 rush yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, if you look at these stats, they're not good at all. This looks like someone who is not going to be good in the NFL and someone who shouldn't be your top 10. But the reason why he's in my top 10 is now he's had 2 of the dumbest coaches I may have ever seen. He's had Freddie Kitchens, he's had Hugh Jackson, and now they bring in Stefanski. Now, there's going to be people in the comments that agree with me and are going to say they're going to run the ball a lot. But I think that actually helps Baker because Baker has these great wide receivers, but these great wide receivers never do anything for him. Odell's a bum. I agree. I don't know if you agree with that. I fucking hate Odell, but Baker will be fine this year. He's not going to be a guy. He's ranked top 10, but he's not a guy you want to draft top 10. He's a guy you get as your quarterback too. You just roll him out there. He's very safe, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and win you a week ever for me. So what do you think about Baker, quarterback 10 for me?
It's tough because I like to make projections. Obviously, that's what fantasy is. Like we like to project stuff, but the Browns is always a team that I will say I'll see it when I believe it. This was my motto last year. I did not. Kareem Hunt was the only guy I drafted because I got him in like the 14th round. And like, you don't sign a guy just to not use him, but it's a different conversation. But I think that it's just like they're going to run the ball, yes. But this is what happened last year. They brought in this guy that's never been a head coach, and all hopes were up because he was a good OC.
Yeah.
They literally did the same thing with Stefanski, a guy that's never been a head coach and's a good OC. I think Stefanski is a better head on his shoulders with how he's running this team. I think they had a really good draft for what they did. But I would still much rather – it's more so I'd much rather have so many other guys ahead of him, even though he's younger, because who's to say coming on his 5th-year option, they're not going to – I mean, it's the Browns. Like, if they don't have a winning season in the next 2 years, like, they're just going to get rid of him. Like, they're not going to hold on to a guy at 7-9 when this team is – they had coolers for their first win, like opened up beer coolers that were locked from their first win because they suck that bad. So, like, I don't know. It's just like Yeah, I have him in a couple dynasty leagues. He's like my QB2 that I traded like an early 2nd-round pick in a super flex for because people gave up on him. But like, I'm not taking him in the top 12. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Cool, but I'm sticking with mine. I'll see it when I believe it. It's like the Cowboys. Like I'll see it when I believe it when they actually win games. Same with the Eagles, all that stuff. And so it's just I don't know. I'm just not on board with the Browns. I do love Nick Chubb in dynasty though, but that's for another video. Whenever we make that one.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I mean, the draft next year, I believe, is in Cleveland. So the fans are going to be calling for the GM's head if they don't end up drafting a quarterback next season, if Baker ends up being garbage. I mean, like I said, I think Baker's very safe. But when you draft this guy, please do not draft him inside the top 12. Just wait a bit because you're going to be getting him much later than a lot of these other guys because so many people, pretty much everyone, is just completely out on Baker because he just has not. He had a hot rookie year, comes in for Tyrod, destroys the Jets because the Jets are a poverty franchise as well. And then people buy into him, and then he's shit, even with these good weapons. So I don't really know what to think about him, but I got him at 10. I think that's fine for me. So at number 11, we have another guy who just absolutely, this guy goes on fire, and then he's shit for me. Number 11, he's not even on Lucas's ranking. Same thing goes with Baker Mayfield. Jared Goff, former Super Bowl quarterback, 2019, quarterback number 13, 16 games, 622 pass attempts, first in the NFL. 4,639 passing yards, third in the NFL. 16 INTs, 28 interceptable passes, seventh in the NFL. 33 carries, 40 rush yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, those stats look way better than what fucking Jared Goff did last year. Jared Goff was legitimately dead for like the first half of the season. He was so bad.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, it looks like he's a god based on these stats. I mean, he finished quarterback number 13, so he's not going to be a guy that really disappoints you, but he's not a guy that you draft saying, hey, this guy's going to win me my championship. No, he's not going to do that. Same thing goes with Baker. But I think the thing with Jared Goff that a lot of people don't think about is don't talk about Sean McVay anymore. I realized, if you remember, when they were in the Super Bowl, all it was the NFL media blowing Sean McVay. This guy's a genius. This guy's this guy's that. And then last year, they start losing, and you don't hear about Sean McVay anymore. I mean, they might get rid of Cooper Kupp, which if that happens, Jared Goff I'm moving even further away from, but seems like they have some good wide receiver options. They bring in Cam Akers, a guy they could dump the ball off to if Jared Goff ends up shitting himself. And they play a lot of those games where they have 2 tight ends on the field, or whatever that's called. I think it's 11 personnel, but I'm a bit of a dumbass. So, yeah, they run 2 tight end sets, and Jared Goff loves Tyler Higbee. He just loves that guy. He loves any tight end. He just will throw it to him a million times. So I like Jared Goff. I think that he's a safe pick, but very limited upside for me. I don't see any possible way Goff is like a top 5 guy next year. So what do you think about Mr. Jared Goff?
Yeah, it's the funny thing with Sean McVay is, so we were talking about this on a different podcast like a week ago, the one about my podcast, how like this transition happened. They were really good in what they ran because no other team ran that offense in the NFL. But like when you actually watch it, it's a very simple offense. I say it's a high school offense because we ran the same offense when I played in high school. A lot of just like simple concepts and like seam routes, if you know it, like route trees and stuff like that. It's just very simple, but it's efficient when you have 3 receivers that can they're really good at route running and making their own space. So Goff, I'm not saying he's bad, I'm not saying he didn't have to do anything, but all he had to do was just throw the ball on time and be able to read the defense. You come into next year, Brandon Cooks gets hurt. Their backup is Josh Reynolds, who he's good, but he's not good at creating his own space. He's more of just a bigger slot guy that would fit better in any other offense, just not that offense. They started to lose a couple games, and then they overreacted, and that's why they switched to 2 tight end sets. They didn't switch because, oh my gosh, we have 2 really good tight ends, which they are good, because they've been on the team for 3 years. Like, you wouldn't just find out they're good after 3 years when they played all the time. They just freaked out, had to switch around their whole offense completely, and then now they're in this zone where they're bad on cap. They bought into all these players, and they just sold out the farm now. Like, Cooks is gone, Matthews is gone, Gurley's gone, and it's just a disaster. But in terms of Goff's fantasy value, it's like Baker. I mean, like, I like him as a QB2 because he has the upside we've seen. I think Goff has a little more, like in the games we see where it goes like 40 to 45 or whatever last year, like the Bucs game. That's a perfect guy to have as your QB2 if your team is safe enough in the middle with running backs, receivers, and tight ends. But it's just like we don't see that upside anymore because they switched to 2 tight end sets. Their O-line is – we always say they're bad. They're actually not like terrible. They're probably just around average. They were just really, really good that one year. And their defense is just okay. So it's just kind of like in the middle of the 40-point weeks and the 7-point weeks we see all the time. So it's just tough to evaluate. If they can somehow figure out what the hell is going on, maybe build up their cap space a little bit. Maybe if they would have drafted a couple offensive linemen, like maybe I would have been a little more on board, but they didn't draft a single one. So I don't know. He's just like him and Baker. I mean, I don't have the rest of my rankings pulled up, but I'm sure they're right around the 15 and 16 range for me.
Yeah, I mean, they did draft FSU's best lineman in Cam Akers, so don't discredit that.
That's true.
So. At number 12, we're going to talk about my guy, and then we're going to go into Lucas's final 11 and 12 guy that we just haven't talked about yet. So if you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please click that subscribe button. I know we're getting closer to the end, but if you enjoyed, please do that. Check out Lucas as well down below. So at number 12, we have my Miami Dolphin man, Tua Tagovailoa, 2019, 9 games. Yeah, I know this man. He got hurt. 252 pass attempts, 2,840 passing yards, 71.40 completion percentage. So pretty close to what Burrow had. 33 tutties to 3 interceptions, 17 rushing yards for 2 touchdowns, but he rushed a lot more his previous 2 seasons. So it's weird looking at like where a guy rushes like 200 yards and then now he just rushes for 17. Maybe that's because he was kind of hurt. Yeah. I don't know. But with that said, Tua got drafted to a situation where if you draft this guy, you have to assume he doesn't play this year, or at least I'm assuming. And if he does play, it's like 8 games or 6 games, something like that, where he plays like week 10 and on. Because I am not going to draft Tua and be like, oh, look, I got a guy that could start this year. He's really probably won't unless Fitzmagic somehow gets hurt, because there's no way we roll out chosen one Rosen. So I think that Tua for the future is going to be very good. I mean, the Dolphins said, fuck it, let me draft all these guys on the O-line that aren't even the best O-linemen, but they think are the best O-linemen. They draft them. And whatever. I mean, Tua's a good quarterback. I mean, that division is now up for the taking. I know we talked about how the Bills will likely win it. Adam Gase is an idiot. The Jets aren't winning that shit. I mean, the Patriots could if Jared Stidham somehow is good. But the Dolphins they're getting on the up and up. And Tua, to me, is just a very talented player. I mean, I hope that as a Dolphins fan, I don't want to cry again watching the season. But Tua is a very talented player. Obviously, the injury concern is there. He had the Bo Jackson injury, but obviously Bo Jackson got hurt when the Sega Genesis was still a thing. And now we're about to hit the PS5, the Xbox, whatever. So Tua gets hurt later. So the medicine's far better. I think he'll be fine. The Dolphins wouldn't have drafted him at 5 if they didn't believe he could stay healthy, to me at least. I don't know why they would draft him at 5 if they thought he was just a problem. So what do you think about Tua at 12, and where do you have him ranked?
I think it's another one of the – I think I have him like the 14th spot or right around there. He's not far off my top 12. It just comes down to I think he's in a wait a year. They would not have drafted him at 5 and then went all offensive line and defensive pieces. Like, they would have added a receiver. They would have added a running back if they were trying to, like, not win now, but, like, hit it right away.
Yeah.
Fitzmagic, I think he'll play at least, like, we'll say 12 games and say they go 6 and – I don't know. Once they're out of playoff contention, which could be as early as like week 12. I mean, I don't think they're going to be a bad team, but I think like 9 and 7 is probably their ceiling this year. Like, they might just put into I mean, I don't know. You can kind of look at like the Broncos, what they did. Obviously, they lost a couple of close games, and then Drew Lock was hurt when Brandon Allen came in, but that would have been Drew Lock, kind of around like the week 8 to 9 range. So you can maybe project that, but I think when he's fully the starter next year, they have the O-line. They probably go out and get a running back, maybe add a receiver. They're kind of like, okay, what the Bills basically have done the past couple of years, we're ready to go now. I still think by then the guys I have over him will be Brady on his final year and Daniel Jones. I think him and Daniel Jones are kind of similar in Drew Lock and like how their value will be, kind of like on the QB like 1.5, right in the middle of a QB1 and QB2. Uh-huh. So it's just more so I need to wait and see what they do, because even if he plays this year, he's throwing to Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki and Preston Williams if he comes back with no run game. So, like, not no run game, but, like,
don't
nothing.
Don't Jordan Howard like that.
Hey, I like the Jordan Howard, Matt Breida with the elite O-line. It's going to be a good combo. But I don't know. It's just that he's not there yet for me. But, I mean, I don't mind him at 12 at all. I've already taken him in a couple of rookie drafts that I've already started. So I really like his sort of outlook at what the Dolphins have done for him.
Yeah, okay. So now at number we have already finished my rankings. We went from 1 to 12. So now we're going to go into Lucas's last 2 guys. Obviously, he just said it. Number 11, he has TB12, Thomas Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So obviously, he moves from a system that he's been in his whole goddamn career to a new system with Bruce Arians. So why do you have Brady at 11? And I don't know. What do you think about it?
Man, I never would have touched this guy. Like, we didn't even address it. We did these videos a month ago and just never finished them. So we're redoing them. Even when he just went to the Bucs, I still never would have touched him in Dynasty. But then they go out and they get, I think, the best offensive tackle in the class at pick 13, basically 14. They give a 4th rounder for him. They go in and get Keyshawn Vaughn, which I think is the perfect running back they needed. They didn't need to take a chance on getting an RB1 that demands a lot of carries. They just need a guy to fill in with Ronald Jones. Perfect.
Yeah.
Then they go get Gronk. I mean, I know Gronk's not going to play a whole season, but still, you have 6 games of Gronk with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. And then they go get Tyler Johnson, probably my favorite prospect in this class, as their
Yeah.
wide receiver 3. I can't not put him in my top 12, even if it's for 2 years. You're getting 2 years of most likely. He was a QB1 last year, if I remember right, or even close to it.
Yeah,
Most
close probably.
likely QB1 numbers when you can probably draft him at quarterback 20, right around QB 20 in your super flex league. I have him in so many leagues now just because I bought in once they kind of got Gronk or in sort of super flex leagues, and then post draft I think he might be even QB 14, 15 come draft time because people see the 1 or 2 year window. So I just think I have him. I value that window better than me waiting on Baker or Jared Goff because I know that window's not there for them in 2 years.
Yeah.
And then in 2 years, I can just go reevaluate my quarterback room. So that's for him there. As much as it sucks to pump up Tom Brady, I kind of have to now with the situation around him. And then I have Daniel Jones at 12. Like I said, I think him, Drew Lock, Tua, even Baker and Goff are kind of all in that same spot. It's going to be hard to rank them. Daniel Jones, one, they're bought in. Obviously, they took him at 6. They, in quotation marks, reached on him. We don't know if they reached. They went out
Yeah,
of the
they reached.
line. Yeah, I mean, they did. But, like, to them, I don't know if they reached. Out of offensive line, they didn't even, like, attempt to sort of take off step. Like, I like to look at it as the moves they made help out with people. They didn't try and get another running back, another receiver to compete with anyone else. They kept the core that broke out with Daniel Jones last year and then just built the defense. And he
Mhm.
has that rushing upside that we kind of saw last year. Most of it came against bad teams, but I mean, they get to play the Redskins twice a year. The Eagles' defense is super up and down. Obviously, they're going to play other not as good teams. So I think it's just the rushing upside. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a reach or not because he could easily just miss if the Giants quarterback. Like, come on, Eli Manning wasn't that good in fantasy for like the last 7 years of his career. So I think me just buying into maybe this is actually going to work. Maybe David Gettleman and his big binder on his one little monitor is actually going to work. So I don't know. I mean, I have him in a lot of leagues too because he was super cheap last year, and I'm thinking like they took him at 6. He's going to start eventually. The same with Herbert. I bet you Herbert will be super cheap in super flex leagues, or even like Jacob Eason. I know me and Tyler are super high on him, but like they took him for a reason. They don't take a guy in the 3rd or 4th round to be a backup. I mean, to be a backup, but to like not have a reason to play him in the future. So I don't know. It's a toss up though. Between the I don't know. I'd honestly say like the 9 to 15 range who you could slot in there.
Yeah, I mean the Giants' new coach seems a bit scary, so he's gonna yell at fucking Daniel Jones until he just learns how to hold on to the ball. Because that guy he's
That's
like
fair.
running with the ball and he just drops it. So if he can somehow figure out how to stop fumbling, I mean it's like the Jameis thing. If Jameis just didn't throw 30 interceptions, he'd probably be a starter in the league still. But that's okay. So I
Yeah.
think that Daniel Jones is going to be good this season. I think that he's gonna be good for the future. But I am a bit worried though that they might just say "fuck you, Daniel Jones," and just get rid of him in like 3 years because they
They
obviously have
could,
the
yeah.
option to after his rookie contract is over. So obviously we're pretty much done with the video. I just wanted to ask you something real quick and then we're going to end it. So how do you feel about Jameis now in a league? Would you draft him and where would you want to draft him?
See, I don't have to draft him because I already have him on all my teams. No, it's kind of funny because we had him in like QB like 8. The
I had
first
him
one,
four or
like,
five.
yeah, like so go watch that first off because that was something. Um, I mean, I have him in all my leagues because people, the way it's just another strategy tip. Like, okay, obviously he's a one in a lifetime like type of situation. The man threw for 5,000 yards. I get that he threw 30 interceptions, but 5,000 yards as a free agent isn't going to be a free agent for much longer. I was hoping he went to the Patriots, but now that I look at it, the Saints is like way more perfect. He gets to learn behind probably the best mental game quarterback ever
Hmm.
with a good coach, with a good team. Like the Patriots are kind of rebuilding-ish, sort of. They're just kind of chilling in the middle.
Very
But I think,
rebuilding.
yeah, it's just weird what they're doing. But I think that if he can learn whatever the hell is going on, I don't know what even's going on. He would bring more to this offense than Drew Brees has brought the last 3 years if he can fix that gap. Like, because he can actually throw the ball downfield efficiently, just throw power in general. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to be bought in, but I could easily see it backfiring to me. But I have him in so many leagues, and he's like my QB4 right now that I know I'll probably just be like trading next year if they re-sign him back or something. Or basically Teddy Bridgewater last year. I traded him in like every single league because he's going to be a free agent. Well, yeah, like of course he is. Now he gets a contract for the team that might have the first pick next year, and they're going to take a quarterback with the top pick next year. So I think it's similar situation. What do you think? Are you drafting him
Oh,
in any leagues?
I'm so bought in on Jameis. I fucking love Jameis Winston. I mean, like if he comes back to the Saints, And he's inaccurate. This, that, the other thing. He might throw 30 interceptions because he threw that with Evans and Godwin. But come on, Michael Thomas, you just throw the ball anywhere near the guy. And that dude has like sticky hands or something. He'll just catch every single ball. So I love Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
I'm going to be drafting. I'm probably going to I'm just going to pull the trigger too early for him because I just love the guy. I really do. I think that he has so much talent that the fact that he's not a starter is almost disrespectful to the guy. How do you throw that many yards? How do you throw that many touchdowns? And you're riding the fucking pine. But I guess it's good because he's riding the pine behind Drew Brees. I just want to say something real quick. I saw this Twitter poll, and it said, who should be the Saints starting quarterback after Brees retires? And it was 50-50 between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Who the fuck are these dumbasses on Twitter?
Guys.
Come on.
Taysom Hill just got moved to tight end / flex eligibility for fantasy. He's not a quarterback. That's like they removed his quarterback eligibility. He's not a quarterback.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just what I think about Jameis. I think I'm going to try to target Jameis, and no one's going to draft Jameis. You draft him as your quarterback 3, quarterback 4, and obviously this year you're probably not going to – he's not going to do anything because Brees will probably stay healthy. But if Brees magically gets hurt, Jameis for 4 weeks is a top 10 guy for me on the Saints. So, you got anything else to say here, or can we just end it here?
Nope.
All right. So, thank you guys all for watching this video. Lucas, can you plug your stuff real quick?
FSCDraftGuide.com. It'll be down below. Go check that out. Twitter, YouTube, Stock Exchange, website, bunch of stuff that I'm sure will all be down there. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll be back. We're recording probably every single position over the next – it should be out by the end of next week. We'll be every position. So thank you guys all for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button. It's free. We're all winning our championship. Eat a W like famous Jameis Winston. Have a great rest of your day.
Sure.
Goodbye.